Hey YouTube, Sony Dog here. This video is for Fortin tech support. I just installed an EVO ONE bypass and remote starter all in one. I've been having some trouble with the remote starter, so I wanted to post this video so the tech support guys can see what's going on. This has been about a week now, some back and forth. Initially I had some trouble with the starter because of one of our friendly little wires down here for the starter. There's two gray wires next to each other right here. I had tapped into the wrong one, but I switched it and the car fired up. Also, let's see if I can get this into the shot. Trying to get a view here on the settings. Camera doesn't want to. There we go. So there's the bypass settings and the FlashLink updater software firmware versions. And I'm going to switch over to the remote starter. There's a remote starter. Okay. Now, the problem has been, on a day like today, it's 27 degrees right now here in Maryland. When I start the car immediately calls for the engine, and it seems to interrupt the remote starter. Now, if I run the engine for a little bit and warm it up, the remote starter will work fine. It'll go into electric mode, the ready light comes on the dash, and if the engine fires up, that works as well too. But it seems to be a problem with the remote starter and these versions that when it's cold like this and the engine wants to fire up right away, it shuts right down. So I'm gonna do a shot of this from out here. You can see what happens. So I'm using the OEM key fob, doing the 3 times lock, and of course, did I forget? I did. I forgot to plug it back in. Yeah, I unplugged the EVO so I could hook up the FlashLink. It doesn't seem to want to connect while the power from the car is applied. So let's try this again. Parking lights are on. Did you catch that? The engine tried to turn over and then it quit. Let's take a look at that from inside the car. I'm gonna drop the windows here so that we can watch. Not sure if I can get the EVO and the dash in here all at the same time. Not really. See if I can back up a little bit more. There we go. And there's our problem right there. The engine calls. It's like an immediate call for heat because it's so cold out here. Engine tries to fire up mid remote start sequence and it shuts down. I've enabled all the options tech support has recommended, and this is the behavior. It's pretty frustrating. The whole reason for installing the system is for my wife and our firstborn. He's going to be a Christmas baby, and it's cold out here. So my wife has remote start in her little Scion TC, and it's very nice. Car's nice and warm. And she's switching to this car because it's got 4 doors and it's going to be much safer with the baby. So we thought, hey, let's install the remote starter so you have a nice warm car. But it doesn't want to work when it calls for when it calls for that heat from the engine right away. Now, the troubleshooting guide online, nothing exists for the EVO ONE. Tech support said the EVO All troubleshooting guide is what you should use. And following the guide, I also added in the EVO ONE All recommends this orange black wire be connected to ground for hybrids, which I went ahead and did that. Shared the ground with the black wire here. And they also, in the troubleshooting guide, say, hey, does it start with a key fob in the car? So I'm going to put my extra key fob here in the car, and we're going to try to remote start it. I'm going to walk away so that, you know, it doesn't pick up the second key here. See if we can get it to start with the key fob in the car. And that's awesome. You know what? It's ignoring this key fob because it knows one's in the car already. This car's too smart. So this is kind of where I'm at. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to pick up my extra key fob here. And actually, maybe that testing was my fault. That's what I get for doing this right before I go to work. I'm in a rush. Here, let's try that key fob test again. Alright, parking lights flash. And there it goes. Tried to roll over, but nothing happened. So, this is kind of what I've been dealing with. And my belief is that it has to do with the fact that it's so cold. Now, if I manually start the car, I'm going to have my foot on the brake here. The engine's going to fire up here. I'm going to let it run for a little bit. I got the heat set on high. Now, initially yesterday, my whole exchange with tech support was, you know, if I turn this down to say maybe into the 70s, where it doesn't really need to call for heat right away, the whole startup sequence will complete. I'll have my ready light on, the EV light will be on, and then eventually, as the auto setting here starts to try to bring the temperature up, the engine would come on, and that all worked perfectly fine. So, you know, it looks like the bypass module works fine. The remote starter works fine under this very non-cold condition. So I'm really at a loss. I don't know if it's a software issue or what. While I'm thinking about it, I know. Let's take a look at our temperature here, what the car is recording, because it is cold. I'm sniffling. It's 29 right now, what the car's reading as the outside temperature. Now, what I'm doing right now is what I found is if it runs for a little bit and it's starting on its way to warming up, if I remote start it again, it will fire up. So I'm going to turn it off. Actually, let's get our temperature. Let's turn our temperature up. I'm gonna set it on 80. How about that? 80 sounds good. All right. And one more time. Sorry about the wind, guys. It is cold. Tried to start, but it failed. This is what I'm dealing with, guys. If you got any suggestions, please leave it in the comments. My upcoming baby and my wife need it. Thanks.